Hey y'all, Jamie here with Gardens and Getaways in Zone 7B in North Carolina. I just wanted to do a quick video today while my garden beds are preparing for the fall and mostly empty about the 10 reasons why I love my Vago raised beds. Now this is not a paid promotional video. These are just beds that I have used for some years now, continue to buy them and continue to have great success in the garden. So come along. So one thing that I really like about these raised beds gardens, and this will be my first thing that I really like about them, is that they have a customizable shape as well as a customizable height. So I have the 17-inch one, meaning this one is 17 inches tall. This bed is, they call them modular beds, so I don't know if you can see this panel here, but they come in different panels so that you can build them in different shapes. So I use kind of a rectangular shape for these 3 beds, and then I have 2 beds, a wider rectangular shape I should say. Then I have 2 beds up against the house. They're the same beds, but instead of putting one of those panels in between these 2 round corner pieces, instead of doing that, like you can see here, we've got 2 round pieces with a panel in between. I extended and put another panel in the middle so that it gave it kind of a more oblong shape. I also love these beds because you can customize the color that you get them in. So the color that I have here is a pearl white. It may not be for everyone. I will say it does tend to hold a little bit of dirt color over time. I don't so much mind that, but if you want like a stark white consistently, I would say maybe go with a different color. They've got it in like a charcoal, they've got it in green. I think they have one that's like a terracotta type color. They've got this, like I said, is the pearl white. So it's totally customizable to you. So that's the first reason why I love these raised beds. And that kind of leads me into point 2, why I really love my raised beds, and that's how easy they are to assemble. So they come in a box with those panels that I was showing, and all the pieces. So it's got these little bolts on here, the holes are pre-cut, so you literally just put that through there with the bolt and the washer on it, and use a power tool, or you can even use a hand tool to put them together. And then it's got this little rubber edging around the top, so you don't have like a sharp metal edge here. I lost part of mine, side note. But this kind of goes on the top so you don't have a sharp metal edge, which gives it a nice finished look. Very easy to assemble. My even helped me put some of these together in the living room. I've put a couple together all by myself. Super easy, super quick. So that's reason number 2 why I love them. The third reason why I love my metal raised beds is because they don't rust. They hold up great. In my old house for probably about 5 years, we had some raised beds that we had built out of wood. By the time we were moving, they were rotten and falling apart. I will show you the raised bed from Vago that I got. You can see, other than having some dirt on it and dust from being outside in the plants, it has held up beautifully. There's no rust on it. You know, it's just done wonderfully. Now there are some dents where I have hit it with the lawnmower. I'll show you that. So this is just where I hit it with the lawnmower. And it does kind of, like I said, kind of get dirty, but I guess you could wash this if you wanted to. It's outside, so I don't really care. And I don't think from like far away it looks bad. But like I said, first bed, I've had this one for 4 or 5 years now, but it has held its value. In saying that they hold their value, they are a little expensive on the front end, but it would probably cost kind of close to the same amount to use wood if I went out and bought the wood, and the wood would be rotting. This is actually still holding up wonderfully, so that is another reason why I love my raised beds. The fourth reason I really love my raised beds is since they are raised up off the ground, 17 inches, that's the size that I got. You can actually get them even higher through the company that I ordered through, but 17 inches off the ground, so I'm not bending over all the way to the ground to harvest, to plant, that kind of thing. This rosemary is right here at my height level. I don't have to bend over. This basil, pretty much at my height level. I don't have to bend over. This eggplant is taller than me because it gives you that lift off the ground, brings the plants up to you, which makes it way easier to harvest and really just overall more enjoyable. So reason number 5 that I loved raised bed gardening is because you don't have as much pest pressure. Since my soil is sitting 17 inches off the ground, I'm not having the weeds and stuff come in from the grass or the natural areas that were there before. So being up off the ground in this pepper bed here, you can see I really don't have any weeds in this bed. Occasionally I will get one or two, but it's not nearly as much as my in-ground beds have. So let's see, you can see, okay, you're going to get some grass occasionally, but it's much easier. You don't have to bend over as far just to come through and pick it out when you do have that weed pressure. So that's reason number, dirty hands, 5, why I love raised bed gardening. Reason number 6 that I loved my raised beds is it helps with the pest pressure. By pest pressure, I don't just mean bugs either. I also mean animals. So rabbits and animals that are smaller or closer to the ground really like to eat a nice fresh garden. Having them 17 inches up off the ground, that prevents some of this, but it does also help with the pest pressure, because when stuff is up high, you can see when you have a pest problem so that it can be addressed sooner rather than later. A big pest pressure that I have noticed that I don't have in my raised beds, but that I do have in my in-ground like strawberry beds is slugs, especially having like lettuce and things that are close to the ground. My strawberries, I get a ton of slug issues with that, but the raised beds, I don't have that problem. I do get some squash bugs. I think those are everywhere. You are going to still have some issues gardening. There's still bugs outside, but it's much easier to catch it sooner and kind of keep a close eye on it. Reason number 7 why I love my raised beds is because they are laid out in kind of a perfect square or rectangle. It's easier to follow a square foot gardening method. If you don't know what that is, there's tons of YouTube videos on it, but essentially it's where you are planting plants closer together to yield larger harvest, and it really works well in the raised beds because you're controlling your soil. You can almost even like grid them out should you choose to do that, so that you can plant them closer to get more harvest. Let me show you. These right here are my butternut squashes, and you can see I've got them about a foot apart. So this follows a square foot gardening method. So if I was planting these in a row in the ground, this probably wouldn't work as well, but since I'm using the square foot garden and using a trellis, I can plant things closer together and still have a pretty good harvest. Stepping back and looking at my garden from the side, you can see how tidy it looks having these raised beds and everything kind of contained in the containers. It makes mowing easier, weeding easier. I can just come right through here with a push mower and clean up the grass that's here. Some people even like to put down like a weed barrier cloth and rocks or mulch in between their raised beds to give it a even more finished look. In my opinion, that's just one more thing to keep up with, so I just mow around it. But overall, I like that I can in my beds and know, okay, I've got this garden here, but I've got room to move around the garden in an organized manner that makes sense. Which kind of brings me to point number 9 as to why I love my raised beds. So having them in the beds contains them, keeps them organized, keeps everything nice and tidy and beautiful in the garden. So point number 9, I love it because I can put trellises in between them. So in doing that, that creates even more growing space as I grow things up this trellis from each side. So think about this. If this were laying flat in the ground, this whole trellis, you may have seen my other videos where I do cucumbers. Right now I'm getting ready to do butternut squash and sweet peas, but this whole trellis area would take up precious ground space. So when you're growing vertically from your raised beds, you don't have to do that. Now I will say my raised beds are Vago garden raised beds, but this trellis right here, this is just a piece of what they call like, I think it's cattle panel or goat panel. You can get it at Tractor Supply. My husband and I just bent it in half and stuck it in these beds as we put soil in them, and it has worked wonderfully to grow things up. I can also, look, hang my little wind chimes and my hummingbird feeder off of it. So it works great, and it creates a beautiful of just shade and nice aesthetics to walk under in the summertime when this is all covered with vegetation. And my last and final point, point number 10, probably one of the most important points, is in having raised beds, you can really control the soil. So up where I live, you can see behind me, it's very hilly. There's rocks everywhere, lots of trees. In my raised beds, I can control my soil here in the ground. I can see if I have any problems with my soil. The soil is easy to work, it's easy to amend, so definitely doing raised beds is the way to go as far as soil health goes. I have noticed my plants just do so much better when I have them in raised beds as compared to planting in this like red clay rocky soil that is natural to my area here in Zone 7B, North Carolina. So that is my 10th reason why I love my raised beds. Thanks for watching the 10 reasons why I love my raised beds. If you are considering starting a garden, I highly recommend starting with a raised bed or container garden of some sort. I think it's easier to control, it's much more enjoyable, it's easier on your body, and really it's fairly inexpensive if you look at it in the long run for the durability and value that you get if you buy high quality products. Now, like I said, these are Vago raised garden beds. I'm not affiliated with them or any other company as far as gardening goes, but it's just what I found. I had done a lot of research before I purchased these, mainly because they are a little on the pricey side, but like I said, that one right there I've had for 4 or 5 years and it's still holding up wonderfully. So I really think if you plan on gardening for a long time, it is a value-based thing where you're gonna get your money back in it versus if you plant in wood raised beds that may rot or decay. However, with that being said, if you've got things sitting on your property that you could use, like wood that you could use that would be safe to build garden beds out of, or metal that you have that you could throw together to build garden beds out of, absolutely do that. I know a lot of YouTubers have built their own raised beds with stuff that they've got, and they turn out beautiful. This is just what works for me. Overall, I just wanted to make this video to encourage you to garden, and if you are new to gardening, just say like, this is why I loved raised bed gardening, because I think there's a lot of question about, oh, no dig in the ground, raised bed gardening, you know, there's all these different ways to do it. However you garden that works for you is the best way. But you can even see I've got some of these pots that I bought off of Amazon to do raised bed gardening in. So whatever works for you, just make sure you do it. Make sure you garden, get out there. If you've killed plants before, it's okay. The truth is we all have. But you'll learn, you'll grow. That's why my channel's here. That's why other channels are here. So if you liked this content, make sure you like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below. Let me know where you're watching from, and let me know how you love to garden. Do you have a raised bed that you prefer? Do you like to do it in ground better? I mean, whatever works for you. But anyways, I hope this content helped. Definitely make sure, like I said, like, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Have a blessed week.